Hey everyone, Dr. Jones. Sometimes just based off the questions that I get, I think I can get a good idea of what questions are going on, at home or on social media. And there's been a question that's come up to me over the last several weeks. And this question tends to resurface. So I'll get it for a few weeks and then it dies off for a few months. And then I get it for a few weeks and then it dies off for a few months. And people have been asking me repeatedly lately, can local honey, raw local honey, cure your allergies? And I kind of wonder, I'm like, why am I getting this question now? And I think, well, I wonder if people are looking at giving this as a gift idea. Well, the premise behind raw local honey and what's marketed heavily is, the bees are kind of pollinating it with the honey, and then as you consume that honey and get some of these microscopic amounts of the local pollens, can that desensitize and kind of work on your body to build tolerance to the local environment? Does that work very similar to what we do as allergists with immunotherapy, with either allergy shots or sublingual drops? Great premise, right? And it's marketed heavily. The problem is it's just false. Like, it's just wrong. It's crap. And I'm going to debunk that myth right now. So there's several issues that we have to consider. First of all, when we do immunotherapy as allergists, and we're trying to take somebody from an allergic state, we're capturing that immunity, taking them from an allergic to a less allergic state. It is not random. So that's issue number one. It's not random. It is calculated. It's methodical. It depends on route, dose, frequency. All of that comes into play whether we can kind of carefully guide somebody's immunity. Random exposures don't do it. And if you're able to even get some of the allergenic pollens in the honey, it's likely not going to be at an appropriate dose, and the timing's not going to be right. And, it just doesn't work that way. The other issue is, let's think about these little bees, okay? What are the bees pollinating primarily? They are primarily taking, going from flower to flower, like rose to rose, tulip to tulip. They're transferring that pollen. Do you ever see bees like out there pollinating trees, like your cottonwoods or your birch trees or your cedar trees? Do you see them out there like going from, grass stem to grass stem or from weed to weed? No, you don't. Why? Like, why do bees pollinate roses and tulips, but they don't pollinate trees, grass, and weeds? Has to do with the characteristics of the pollens. So pollens that are with flowering plants like roses and tulips are heavier, they're bigger, they stick, and so they are not easily wind dispersed. And as such, they're not up in the environment a lot, so we as people are not inhaling them a whole lot. And so people by and large don't have, it's not very common that they have allergies to roses or tulips. Even if you're getting itchy, stuffy, sneezy with them, a lot of times it's just due to the odor, not so much the pollen. What do people get allergic to? Trees, grass, and weeds. Why? The pollens are smaller, they're lightweight, and so they are easily wind dispersed. And you actually don't need the bees for that. You just need the wind. And so they're wind dispersed, and so that's primarily what people are inhaling. So that's kind of where that comes from. Okay, so even if you had a certain amount of pollen in the honey, it's likely not going to contain very much trees, grass, or weed pollen. And so if somebody's sitting, you're sitting around the table, you're having a nice meal, they're bragging about, I took my local honey and it cured my allergy because I am all natural. Guess what? It may have helped them, but it wasn't because it shifted their immunity from allergic to less allergic. They had a really great placebo effect. Almost always really nice placebo effect. And you can rest assured of that, and you can feel really good about that. Okay? So that's your myth debunker for the day, and happy holidays.